Greetings to everyone and welcome back to Grade Tutor. My name is Afari Ernest, and in today's lesson I'm going to take you through legal system and regulatory bodies under business in Ghana. So when we say legal system, we are talking about those institutions that enforce what law, right? Those institutions that enforce and also regulate what law in the country. So that is what we are going to look at, and we are going to look at it in relation to what businesses in Ghana. Okay, so first outline, we are going to look at understanding institutions and what business. Okay, so we are saying institutions provide rules of the game. So the institutions we are talking about here, we can talk about the law courts and the rest, right? Yeah, so we are saying institutions um provide rules of the game. So institutional framework is made up of both formal and informal rules or regulations governing individual or firm behavior. So that is what we are talking about. So we have three pillars that support institutions. So we have the three pillars, and one is what the regulatory pillar, we have the normative pillar, and we also have what the cognitive pillar, right? So we are going to look at these three pillars under the supportive what institutions. And so when we say regulatory pillar, what are we talking about? When we say the normative pillar, what are we talking about? And the cognitive pillar. So let's look at them. So dimensions of institutions. So degree of formality, example supportive pillar. So we are going to look at them. Okay. So the degree of formality, we have formal and informal institutions. I hope you are aware. So the formal institutions deals with the law courts, and the informal institution deals with the chiefs, that is the palace, and all kinds of other informal institutions you can also talk about. Okay, yes. So for the formal, it deals with what rules and regulation laws. There are what statutes, right? And so when you talk about the type of pillar that is under the formal institution, it is what regulatory or coercive what pillar. And so don't forget, in an examination, if they ask you the kind of pillar that is under the formal institution, you should be able to provide to the lecturer that it is what the regulatory what pillar, because it is only the regulatory pillar that is what formal. So the regulatory here talks about what regulations, rules, statutes, code, right, laws. And so that is what you see under the formal institution. Then when you come to the informal institution here, you see that for the informal institution, we have what the norms, culture, and what ethics. That is why I said the informal institution is in relation to what the chieftaincy and all that. So when you are in a community and you see when there is a particular attitude or behavior in a community that is prohibited by the community, once you do it, you are being taken towards the chief or the palace. Then that is where they, based on their norms, their culture, or their ethics, yes, they stand on that towards judge you. Okay, so let's say in some community there is a this taboo that you are not supposed to go to a river to fetch water on, let's say, Fridays. So once you go there on Friday, that is not the duty of the government. That is the duty of what the chieftaincy. So it is what a culture, a norm, or ethic, right? So in that situation, it is the informal institution that comes in. That is what the chief or the palace, right? Yes. And so for the normative or cognitive, they are classified as what informal institutions. They are pillars that are classified under the informal institution. So when we were talking about the three pillars here, the regulatory here, the normative, and the cognitive here, now we have now grouped these three, and we are saying the regulatory is under formal, then the normative and the cognitive is under what the informal. Okay, so you keep that in mind. Okay, so formal institutions include laws, regulations, and rules. Domestically, they are imposed by governments of what Ghana. So they are rules that governs the state, the businesses, and the individuals in the state. So in terms of global business, they may be imposed by home countries or host countries. So let's say you are in Ghana, Ghana, we have our laws that governs our businesses and our way of life. So when you go to United States, or when you go to let's say UK, any country in UK, whether Scotland, Wales, England, or whatever, yes, they also have their own, let's say, laws, right? Yes, that is why we are saying, for when you are into global business, right? Let's say McDonald. You see, McDonald is in so many countries. So when the McDonald branch in Ghana here, they have, or they are being imposed by a law, right, by the government of Ghana. Then when you go to, let's say, United States too, there's a law that is being imposed on them and all that. So that is what we are saying here. And we are saying the primary pillar of formal institution is the regulatory pillar, and we have said that. That is to say, coercive power force of the state. So example, Ghana does not allow foreigners into retail business, ban on small scale mining activities. So these are all activities that are being enforced by the regulatory pillar, that is the law court or the government. I hope that is good. So let's move on. So this rule on non-participation of foreigners in retail business and others are defined by Act of Parliament, codes, and other regulatory mechanisms. Yeah, so the activity that we mentioned here, that is ban on small-scale mining activities, Ghana does not allow foreigners into retail business. Yes, they are all being enshrined or encoded in what, the Constitution of Ghana or the Act of Parliament. So let's look at the informal institution. So the informal institution, on the other hand, include the norms, cultures, and ethics, right? So they are supported by the normative and cognitive pillars. So the normative and cognitive pillars are informal, don't forget, and the regulatory is what? Formal. Okay, so the normative pillar refers to how the values, beliefs, and actions, collectively known as norms. So when you hear of the word normative, we are referring to what? Norms, right? So when you go to a community, each community in this country has their own what? Norms, right? Yes, some things that is bound by what? The community. That one, the government cannot intervene. It is up to the community, right? And so that is what we term as what? Norm. And so how does this normative pillar affect business in Ghana? Example, we are saying ban on noise making during the Homo festival. So how this affects a business in Ghana? Let's say you have a bar or a spot, a pub or a restaurant, and let's say within a certain period you want to organize a party, or there is this pub, they will be playing music and all that. And once they get to Homo Festival, you are supposed to stop, let's say, stop with all your activities. So you see that in this situation, the norms within the society is having effects on the business in that particular society. Okay, so the normative pillar here, we are saying it is just the value, the belief, the culture, and all that of people in a given society, and that makes it informal, because it is not generalized. I hope you get it. So that is for the normative pillar. Then let's talk about the cognitive pillar. So anytime you hear the word cognitive deals with what? Your mind, your intuition, the absorption of information from the environment, how you know this is right and this is wrong. So your mindset, the perception, right? So how you perceive something to be good or wrong, that is the cognitive pillar, right? So let's say if you see me killing someone, probably you would just report me to the police or someone, because me killing someone is a bad thing to do, or a bad habit, or a bad behavior that I'm putting up, right? Or someone who is stealing, you can report that person to an elderly person, or anyone around. I hope you get it, or the owner of that particular item. And so that is your perception, how you perceive something to be good or bad, right? And so, for example, we are saying concerned community member may report the destruction of livelihood resources in their communities by illegal miners. So, as a citizen, or let's say someone who is residing in a particular community, you know that illegal mining is what very bad, and it's going to destroy the water bodies and the rest. So once you see someone mining, the cognitive pillar, the intuition that the person is having will make the person report that person to the authorities. You get it? So the cognitive pillar deals with what is good and what is what bad. I hope you get it. Yes. So yes, in the illegal mining example, the normative pillar suggests that people are what quiet, whereas the bold community members' actions are driven by their strong cognitive pillar regarding what is right and wrong. I hope you get that. Yes. So what do institutions do? Those institutions, the regulatory pillar, the normative, so those formal institutions and the informal institutions, what do they do? That is what we are going to look at. So we have one to reduce uncertainty. Specifically, institutions influence firm behavior by signaling what conduct is legitimate and what is what not. So the first and the most important function that you have to just put in mind is what the first one, which is what to reduce uncertainty, because you are going to be seeing this in the exams, provided you get what multiple choice questions, right? MCQs. So it is going to be something uh, normal to see. Okay, so to reduce uncertainty. So they are meant to, especially the formal institution, they are meant to provide some or make provisions for some activities or some laws and all that, so that some things or some attitude or behaviors or actions might not what cause distractions and others. That is why we are saying to reduce what uncertainty, right? So for the uncertainty, we have political uncertainty, economic uncertainty, and uncertainty during election. So when we talk about political uncertainty, we have written constitution that goes against what totalitarianism or coup d'etat, right? So the institutions, they are meant to prevent this political uncertainty, right? So that they will ensure what the good effect of our democracy. Then we have economic uncertainty, that is such as failure to carry out transactions as per and the rest. So basically the economic uncertainty is talking about, let's say you when you enter into an agreement with someone, then you want to just fraud or cause some, you want to just put up some action that would benefit you. I hope you get it. So that is the economic uncertainty and uncertainty during election. So the likelihood of violence and the rest. So you see that most of the time during elections, that is when the police, the inspector general of police, will put some measures in place so that they will prevent all these kinds of violence that might rise up during election time. So why is it important to reduce uncertainty, right? So uncertainty surrounding economic transactions can lead to transaction costs, which are the costs associated with economic transactions, or more broadly, the cost of doing what business. So here, the transaction cost is when we are going to talk about the, let's say, the opportunism, right? The opportunism. So when we say the opportunism, is when you are just trying to seek for your own interest. Like I said earlier, maybe we are entering into a contract or agreement, but you want to just get the contract in your self-interest, right? Yes, so that is opportunism. So you have to just get this word opportunism. It's mostly come in the end of semester. And example includes misleading, cheating, confusing other parties in transactions that will increase transaction what cost. Yes, and that is what we are talking about as the opportunism. So what institutions do to reduce uncertainty? So in such situations like this, what do they do? Institutional frameworks increase certainty by spelling out the rules of the game on business so that violations, right? They just have written documents and laws, regulations, all there. So once it is being spelled out and you go against it or you violate it, sure, there is going to be punishment by the judiciary, right? Yes. And in the absence of credible institutional framework that protects investors, domestic investors may choose to invest their money abroad. An example is often cited of Russian entrepreneurs who chose to buy assets in London or Cyprus instead of investing in Russia. Okay. Then in Ghana, a tendency has been reported where investors pull brakes on their investment during election. Yes, because during election time there is going to be this violence and the rest, right? So probably when there are injuries and the rest, the government might want to take some money from the economy to just take care of those injured people and all that. And once when you get to the election year, because of this kind of violence and the rest, yes, it also retards the development of the country as well. Okay, so let's move on to the political systems and businesses, right? So we are going to look at the political systems and we will look at it in relation towards the businesses. So we have democracy and totalitarianism or dictatorship. So when we talk about democracy, what do we mean? Democracy is when the power is being vested in the electorate or the people in the country. So me and you, we have the power more than the government. Do you get it? Because the power has been vested in the people of the country. So the government is going to lead the country in the wishes of what? The people. That is democracy. Then when you talk about dictatorship or totalitarianism, that is a political system in which one person exercises all the absolute political control over the rest of the people. So, for example, is Burkina Faso. Their president. You see, this is a situation whereby it is only one person that exercises political control over the state. So it is what he will say that the whole people in the country will follow. So these two political ideologies, they are what? Let's say opposite to each other, vice versa. So for the democracy, the power is vested in the people, and for totalitarianism or dictatorship, the power is vested in just one person. So we are going to look at it on the part of what? Businesses, okay? On the part of businesses. So when you take democracy like this, we are saying there is less political risk. So freedom of association and free market driven by well-articulated and communicated institutions which define the rules of the game in business, right? Yes. So for democracy, there is less political risk. So you are likely to what? Invest, okay? You are likely to invest, and there is not going to be this kind of violence and the rest. But for totalitarianism or dictatorship, there is unpredictable political environment. So no one would want to invest in a country where there are wars, riots, chaos, breakdown of order, right? I hope you get it. So in relation to this, a country which is practicing democracy and a country that is practicing totalitarianism, where would you invest as an investor? A question to everyone. So let's look at legal systems and business. So a legal system refers to the rules of the game on how a country's laws are enacted and enforced, right? So we are going to look at origins of laws. So for the origins of laws, where we get our laws from, first of all, we have the common law, right, or judicial precedent. We have the civil law, then we have theocratic law, right? So we are going to look at them one after the other. So common law is also called judicial precedent or case law or judicial made law. So we can give it any name. Yes. So the common law is just let me just give an example. It's just a law, and this law comes into effect when there is what a precedent. So let's say in our constitution we have, or it has been codified in the constitution or enshrined in the constitution that once you steal, you are going to be in prison for 5 years. But it wasn't specific that if I steal a pencil, I'll be going to prison for 2 years. So, in a situation whereby someone steals a pencil and the person is being sent to court, now because it is not codified or enshrined in the Constitution of Ghana, you are supposed to, the judges in the court, they are going to sit and bring up a judgment that, oh, the last time someone stole a goods, we gave the person 5 year imprisonment. Now this person has stolen a pencil, so we can compromise and give the person 1 year because goods and a pencil, yes, there is a huge difference. But in the long run, a steal is a steal. Do you get it? Yes. And there can be a situation whereby someone will go and steal a spoon, right? Someone will go and steal a spoon. So within the first judgment, because that is the first case, the judiciary, they will make a case law, right? They are going to determine the kind of sanction they will give to the person. And once they give it to the person, that sanction becomes a law. So whoever does that will be sanctioned by that particular law. That is what we call common law or judicial precedent. So the precedent here is something that has happened before. It is not codified, something that has happened, an action that has happened before. So it is a law that is used to what govern the rest. Okay. Yes. So another example is, let's say in our basic school, you see when you go to school very late, yes, some teacher might want to give you some 3 lashes. Yes, but then one teacher might say, oh, the last guy I gave him 5 lashes. So it means you have to give him what 5 lashes. So that is an example of what the common law. Okay. So let me see. Okay, I have explained the common law. Now let's look at the civil law. When we talk about civil law here is, so the civil law has less flexibility than the common law, because common law, it is when the judges, they sit and make what judgments, right? Yeah, so that one is a little bit complex than the civil law. So for the civil law is because the law has been what enshrined, or let's say codified in a written document. So the judges are meant to only apply those laws, right? Yes, because the thing is already there. So let's say if you steal a car, you are going, or if you kill someone, yes, life imprisonment. That is all. So when we go to court and we find out that you murdered someone, that is it. The judges are meant to just apply the law, and that is all. So you see, that one is very less flexible than the common law, that they have to go and sit, read through the previous judgment, then they come into a conclusion. So we are saying for the civil law, it is a comprehensive statute and code serve to guide what judges. Yes, they are written documents. Statute is just a written document and can also be what it is also under the Constitution of Ghana, right? So statutes and codes. All right, so let's move on. Let's move on to theocratic law. So when we talk about theocratic law, what does it mean? Theocratic here, we are talking about what religious what teaching. So when we say theocracy, right? Theocracy is it's a political system led by or headed by what a chief priest, right? Yes, a chief priest or a pastor, right? That is theocracy. So theocratic law here, we are talking about what religious what teachings. So a typical example is when you go to Saudi Arabia, right? You see that their way of life is guided by their Quran, right? They live by the Quran. Once you are not married, you cannot stand in public and be doing all sort of things. When you go to Iran to sing, right? Then when you go to let's say Jew, yes, when you go to Jew too, they are being guided by what? The Bible, right? So when we talk about theocratic law, we mean what? Religious what? Teachings. So have it in mind, theocracy. So let's move on. Theocratic law and business. This requirement obviously increase property, overhead, and personal what cost. To reduce cost, some foreign bank staff their back office operations with both male and female employees who work side by side. Okay. Now we are diving into our outline 4, that is the legal system. So you pay attention here very carefully. So it is now that we are going to look at those various statutes or the Act of Parliament that are guiding the operations of some certain businesses or organizations in the country. Okay, so that is what we refer as what the legal system. Okay, so the legal system, yes, we have here. We have the Companies Act 1963, that's Act 179. We have the Income Tax Act 2015, Act 896. Fisheries, Petroleum, Forestry, Mineral Commission, Mineral and Mining, Free Zone, the Labor Act. So the most sensitive part that I would recommend you learn them before learning all of them. It's likely you get some in the exams, yes. So what you are supposed to do is, one, you put the Company Act down, the Income Tax, the Free Zone Act, and the Petroleum. Then you also put the Ghana Revenue. Okay, it has been highlighted already. Yes, it's very sensitive. The Ghana Revenue Authority Act. Then I think yes, for the after learning these ones, then you try to add some one or two to it. Yes, for the exams. Okay, it's difficult to study all of them, but you should try. All right, let's look at the regulatory bodies, right? Regulatory bodies. So the investor, whether a Ghanaian or a foreigner who wants to establish a resident business entity, has to register with the Registrar General Department under one of the acts named above, except where the entity is to operate in the country as a representative of non-resident business entity. So let's say you are a Ghanaian or you are a foreigner and you want to establish a business or invest in Ghana, right? Invest into a business entity in Ghana. What you are supposed to do is you must first register with the Registrar General's department, right? Yes, under the Registrar. Is it a Companies Act or something? Yeah, but I forgot it. Yeah, it is, except when maybe you are operating in a country as a representative, right, of non-resident business entity. Let's say the business is not in Ghana but in other country, but you are just acting as a representative here. I hope that is good. And also and even in that case, it does not go through the process of incorporation because you don't need to register, but simply submit the required document to the registrar, who registers them in the register of external companies. Yes, so you put it in mind there, register of external companies. So now, Registrar General's Department, that is what we are going to look at first. So the Registrar General's Department is under the Ministry of Justice and Attorney General. The department is responsible for the registration of businesses and other related matters in Ghana. So what they normally do is, if you are going to establish business, you go to the Registrar General's Department. If you want to do any kind of investment in a business entity in Ghana, you must go to the Registrar's General Department office, right? Then we are saying for the department, yes, they will charge you. First pay a commitment fee. I think that one will be here. Yes, they charge application fee for incorporation and commencement of what business. But then aside that, you are also supposed to pay 0.5% of your stated what capital. So the business that you want to start with, if you are starting with, let's say, 100,000 Ghana cedis, you are supposed to calculate 0.5% of the 100,000 and you pay it to the Registrar General's what department. Now they are going to use this money for your, they will just use the application fee for the processing, and that one will take 3 to 5 days before you receive the letter of incorporation. And as a business, if you have not gotten a letter of incorporation, it means you cannot start what a business in Ghana here. I hope that is clear. Yes. And so after the incorporation, yes, the companies that are partly or fully owned by foreigners have to register. Oh, okay, yes. So let's say, you see, we have residents and non-residents. Non-residents are the foreigners. So for the residents, after getting the letter of incorporation or certificate of incorporation, that is all, you start working, right? But then if you're a foreigner and you are trying to establish a company here, that one is termed as what? Investment. So after getting the letter of incorporation from the Registrar General Department, you must also register with the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, that is GIPC, right? Yes, GIPC. You register with them. So under the Registrar General's Department, we are saying registration is completed after companies have met the minimum equity requirement depending on their what structure. So you know, when you were talking about SMEs, small your fixed capital, medium your fixed capital or assets, and the large your fixed capital or what assets. Yes, this is the reason why some of the banks were collapsed, because they did not meet what the minimum equity what requirement according to what sources, right, from then Bank of Ghana. That is why they collapsed some of them, because you must meet what the minimum requirement before you can start working. I hope you get that. So the required equity can be brought into Ghana either in money or in kind. Okay. So GIPC. Now we are done with the Registrar General Department, and we are saying for GIPC, who then goes to the GIPC? That is what? Foreigners who want to establish businesses in Ghana. So GIPC initiates and maintain a favorable environment for both Ghanaian and foreign what investments. So GIPC provide for the creation of an attractive incentive framework and a transparent, predictable, and facilitating environment for investment in Ghana. Okay, so let's look at the major functions of GIPC. What do they do? Their functions: they formulate investment promotion policies and plans. Yes, we have said that. Initiate and support measures that will enhance the investment climate in Ghana. Yes, we have said that. Initiate and organize in promotional activities such as exhibition, conferences, and seminars. So they just their duty is to just organize, initiate, collate, and also keep records of businesses in Ghana that are owned by foreigners and submit it to the Registrar's General Department. Of course, no, sorry, the Registrar's General Department will submit those of the foreigners to the GIPC, and GIPC, their function is also to make what again did we say? To make the investment in Ghana, yes, a presentable one for foreigners outside. Okay, so that is it for GIPC. Yes, that is it for GIPC. Then, okay, the minimum equity for foreigners. Joint venture, you have to get a minimum equity of 10,000. 100% foreign owned, that is 50,000, and trading enterprise, that is 300,000 US dollars, right? So investment procedures and the rest, you must. Yes, so registration with Ghana Revenue Authority and SNET, you pay taxes, and you are supposed to pay SNET for your employees. So you register with the Ghana Revenue Authority, and that one will be for what? Taxes, and the SNET for your workers. All enterprises must register with Ghana Revenue Authority. Yeah, we have said that. So investment procedures and the GIPC Act. So environmental impact assessments, and we are done for that. Okay, so let's look at the mineral commission. Yes, it's very plenty. That is why I'm touching on most sensitive parts. Some of them it's just understandable. Okay, some of them, and under no circumstance that they will also ask you to write the procedures for that. Okay, yes, so it's normal. Let's proceed. Let's look at mineral commission. Right, so the mineral commission, what do they do? For them, they regulate under the Minerals Commission Act 1993, Act what 450, right? So what they do is they ensure the utilization of mineral resources in, and they are the industry. Yes, they are the commission that issue mining licenses, right? Yes, for small scale, large scale, and industrial mining. So before you start mining, you have to get a license, and the license is just they can even give you a training on how to even mine, because where you are going to mine you have to get a license before you mine at that area, because they will do the inspection and everything, and they will reach some terms and agreements with you before you can proceed, right? Then so we have the major minerals include gold, manganese, bauxite, and iron ore. So let's move on to the next one, that is Ministry of what? Energy. Now let's look at Ministry of Energy. So Ghana discovered its first oil in commercial quantities in 2007 at the Jubilee field. So the Ministry of Energy is responsible for effective management of petroleum exploration and production in Ghana. Okay, so the Petroleum Exploration and Production Law 2016 Act 919, Petroleum Revenue Management Act 2011, Act 815 as amended. So they are all what? These are all acts under the what? Ministry of Energy. Yes. So the Ministry of Energy, we said they discovered its first oil commercial in quantity in 2007 at the Jubilee what? Field. So you don't forget this. Then the same one we are saying for the subsectors, we have the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, that is GNPC, right? So we will talk more about the GNPC. So it was established as a state-owned entity, right? It is owned by the government, that is Ghana National Petroleum Corporation. So which provides adequate and reliable supply of petroleum products, right? So GNPC, the corporation was established with the following objectives: promotion of petroleum exploration activities, appraisal of existing petroleum discoveries to ensure production to meet national requirements, ensure that Ghana obtains the greatest possible benefit from the development of its petroleum resources. So these are the objectives why there was the establishment of the GNPC. Okay, so for the GNPC, yes, we are saying to obtain the effective transfer of Ghana of appropriate technology relating to so in summary, let me summarize. So the GNPC, that is the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, was established so that Ghana will just benefit the greatest percentage of the production, right? Yes, that is one, because they are going to supervise over the exploration of the oil, yes, under the Ministry of Energy, as we said, yes. And also we are saying they are to ensure that for the exploration, when you are exploring the oil or the petroleum, there is not going to be this environmental degradation, right? Yes, and to also ensure the training of citizens of Ghana and development of national capabilities in all aspects of petroleum operations, right? Okay, so the Petroleum Commission was established by Act of Parliament as a result of hydrocarbon discoveries and in commercial quantities to regulate and manage the utilization of petroleum resources and coordinate the policies in the petroleum sector. Okay, so that is it about the petroleum. Now let's move on to the Ghana Revenue Authority. Yes, I don't want the video to be so long. Okay, yes, that is why some of the slides. I just skip them. We don't have any. It's just basically about what we explain in most of the beginnings. Yes, there are more explanations to it. So let's look at the Ghana Revenue Authority. So the Ghana Revenue Authority, it's then had different departments. So we had the Internal Revenue Service Department, Value Added Service, and the Custom Excise and Preventive Service, which were separate revenue agencies until about last quarter of 2010, where we merged all these agencies or departments together to get the Ghana Revenue Authority, right? And now under the Ghana Revenue Authority, when you go to the GRA, we have three divisions. We have the Domestic Tax Revenue Division, right? Then we have the Customs Division, and we have the Support Service Division. So we are going to look at them one. Okay. So we know that for GRA, Ghana Revenue Authority, yes, they are the agency that is responsible for the mobilization of revenue for the government. So we have stated all the divisions that they are going to generate revenue, and we said we have what? We have the Domestic Tax Revenue Division, we have the Customs Division, and Support Service Division, right? So let's look at them one after the other. So when we talk about the Customs Division, it's responsible for collecting customs duties and excise, where the Domestic Tax Revenue Division takes care of income tax and VAT, or National Health Insurance Levy. So for the Customs Division, that does with those are the harbor, right? Those are the harbor. When you import something or when you are exporting something, yes, they have percentages that they charge on those products. Then when you talk about the Domestic Tax Revenue, yes, that one talks about home, right? Yes, that one talks about the home country. So the home country, how do we mobilize taxes for that? One, when you buy something from a shop, you pay what? VAT indirectly. Yes, and sometimes there is National Health Insurance Levy, that is nil, and income tax as well. Income tax, the work that you are doing, the tax that you pay as income tax to, is under the Domestic Tax Revenue Division. So the last one is the Support Service Division, and that one is responsible for all internal functions such as finance and administration. Don't forget the word services. Okay, so legal, human resource management, and what, etc. So each of the three divisions is headed by a commissioner who reports to the Commissioner General of GRA. And so don't forget, they are all divisions under GRA. So each commission is headed by a commissioner, and that commissioner will just submit a report to the Commissioner General of GRA. Okay. So now Environmental Protection Agency is in charge of issuing the necessary environmental permits to companies operating in environmental sensitive areas. So especially what those mining, right? And so let's talk about one interesting topic, that is the Ghana Free Zone Enclave, or the Ghana Free Zone Authority. So Ghana here, when you are exporting something, you are supposed to pay I've forgotten the percentage if I'm not mistaken, but I don't want to quote any percentage, so that, yes, but then you are supposed to pay a certain percentage, yes, either 10% or something, but that is why I said I've forgotten, so I wouldn't like to quote anything to mislead you. So you are supposed to pay something on your exports, right? And for Ghana Free Zone Authority, they have this policy or incentive, or you can also call it tax holiday. And so the tax holiday is talking about the number of what years or number of days that you can enjoy. So you know, holidays talks about number of days, it can be week or years. So tax holidays talks about the number of years. So Ghana Free Zone Authority can give you that when you want to export a product outside, right? And so what they normally do is, any country that is producing 70% of their products or total output. So if you are exporting, let's say you produce 100,000 bottles right, and you are exporting 70,000 or more, yes, you can be classified under the Ghana Free Zone Enclave. And so for this, you are going to export it for free. You are not going to pay any export duties, right? You are not going to be charged for anything. You are going to export it free by not paying any custom duty. And so that is it. And another thing is, you are going to do it for what, 10 good years. You are going to do it for 10 years, and after the 10 years, instead of charging you the percentage, which is 10% or 15%, they will rather charge you 8%. So you are going to enjoy, you are going to be charged 8% of the profit after that 10 years. Don't forget, you are going to enjoy the export for free for 10 years, and after the 10 years, you pay 8% of your profit afterwards. Do you get it? Yes. So that is the Ghana Free Zone Enclave or Authority, right? So under this note, we will end here for today's lecture or tutorials. Kindly subscribe, share to your friends, and make sure they also benefit from whatever we are doing here. Thank you very much. My name is Safari Ernest, and you can call me. See you midday.